How often did you as a student exclaim out loud, "When am I ever going to use this?" or "What is the point of this lesson?" This is the biggest struggle that high school students face as they are developing their lives. As a whole, the current education system must go through rectifications. For starters, those who are in charge of the education system should include things that, as adults, will help us. For example, we should be taught how to balance a mortgage or pay our taxes. These types of life skills would be more useful to high school students across the nation rather than learning to solve a quadratic equation or needing to identify whether a phrase is gerund or absolute. Even though these skills are good to achieve a 4.0 GPA, they will not help us by the time we are living off on our own. Now, as we look to other high school students in the nation, we realize that we are not the only ones who experience these types of issues. We will now take a journey throughout our hallways here at Fairfield Prep to see how our fellow brothers feel about the education that we are receiving.
So what do you feel about the education system?
Well, I think it's a pretty corrupt system. I mean, you gain just enough knowledge to get you through 9-to-5 jobs and maybe learn a few life experiences, but I don't think it's really.
So how do you describe the education system?
Well, personally, I like the system that we have currently. However, I do believe in our theology department we could spend a little more time on Catholicism and Christianity as a whole. And in biology, we could work more to advanced genetics and genealogy.
All right, thank you. So George, how would you describe our education system?
Well, I'd say that the education system at Fairfield Prep is a great starting point for the development of career personalis. But I would say that there are some information that taught that can be irrelevant. I'd say, for example, that there are more life skills such as paying bills and paying taxes and learning how to count. For example, that's more important than learning about the Krebs cycle or, yeah.
All right, thank you. Hey, Trevor, so how would you describe the education system in one word?
Public, garbage. Private, decent.
Do you care to elaborate?
Well, public school, the teachers really don't care, and most of the students don't care. But in a private school, pretty much everybody is at least working towards something.
So, in one word, how would you describe the education system?
I would say our education system right now is standardized due to, you can see it in the prevalence of standardized testing like the SAT, ACT. And I think the reasoning behind it is because they're trying to level the playing field for different, different groups of different ethnicities and socioeconomic groups. But it's not always good because it does somewhat limit those who excel in certain subjects.
So, how would you describe the education system in one word?
At Prep?
Yeah.
Insipid.
Would you care to elaborate?
Well, the classes are non-engaging, and I think that the education is pretty underwhelming. And I think that the school is probably a scam with the amount of money that a lot of people are paying and the amount of money that they still ask us to pay.
And if you could change it in any way, would you?
Yes, completely.
Thank you. Excuse me, sir. Hey, how would you describe the education system?
Subpar.
And would you care to elaborate?
Well, the education system of the United States is in unfortunate circumstances from what I've been told, especially on the national level. We've been below many countries I would consider to be less advanced than us, at least in this regard. Hence why I believe the education system is being subpar.
And would you change it in any way if you could?
I would probably alter the liberal education somewhat in the sense that I would probably introduce more practical lessons early on. Lessons that involve teamwork, very technical skills, like with computers and various things like that. At least maybe cut out some of what we're doing traditionally so far and implement more of that so that we can have a brighter.
All right, thank you.
Hello, can you tell us your name and what subject you teach?
Hello, I'm Mr. Whalen. I teach Spanish here at
Right, what are some of the big topics you specifically teach, such as the major parts of your subject?
The Spanish curriculum usually is they're teaching on reading, writing, listening, and speaking in a target language, and the major topics we teach based on the level that they are at depends on how far they can express themselves in the target language, I guess.
In your opinion, what course of studies and activities should be present in the education system today?
I think that a lot of classes and a lot of activities outside the classroom need to gear towards more the overall student performance, gearing towards individual needs, individual understandings of themselves. I think that a lot of classes, a lot of activities usually geared towards one specific student, and if we have activities that allow for students to be involved in that they're more of a diverse group of students, it's more, I think, it'd be more beneficial for those to be more involved or to excel in their classes.
As a Spanish teacher, do you feel that you were guided in the right direction through your high school years?
Definitely, as a Spanish teacher, my Spanish classes were, I'm biased, obviously, my Spanish classes were, the most beneficial for me. However, I did learn a lot from my other teachers, specifically my English teacher when I was in high school, taught me a lot, both inside and outside the classroom. He taught us a lot about, how to dig deeper into stories, dig deeper into, things that we were working on, pieces of writing. However, he also was a director of campus ministry at the time, and so he focused more on immersion trips and retreats, and so I learned more about him and about other people through those mediums.
Do you feel that prep restricts its students in any way?
Not that I know of as of right now. Being only my second year here, I do know like the ins and outs of some activities, some things that go around here. However, being a Jesuit school, I had the mentality of this is what it will look like, and those all became true. The retreat program, the service program, the academics are, they compared to other Jesuit schools that I've taught at, and also going to Canisius High School, Buffalo, I understand the curriculum and how strict it is for students to take on to better themselves for the future.
Is there any way that you would change the system, whether it be material or the system of teaching?
I think overall, the acceptance rate here at Prep, I think it's hard. However, it's hard to get into. However, the amount of students that we have doesn't really gear towards what we're trying to teach here at Prep. Having 29, almost 30 kids in one classroom is kind of hard to teach like a material that everyone will get at once. Having smaller class sizes, especially with the language, having smaller class sizes between 12 and 15 students is a lot better than having students from 29 have to keep track of every single student. I feel like it's more engaging, it's more personal if there are smaller class sizes. So if that's something that we can look into, then.
Hello, can you tell us your name and what subject you teach?
Sure, my name is Thomas Corona, and I teach physics and biology.
In your opinion, what course of studies and activities should be present in the education system today?
One course that's sort of new to the education sphere, but has not made its way to prep yet, is any sort of computer science course. This entails programming for any program language, and also the math that comes with it. I think in a digital world that we live in, we're really doing students a disservice by not preparing them for that digital world. The reality is that you can write a code for an app tonight, and you can sell it for millions tomorrow. And I think it's something that we have to expose our students to. We don't do it at prep. We've seen schools have varying levels of success with it.
In your opinion, how do you feel prep presents the education it gives to the students?
I think Fairfield Prep is very, very accurate and has a really good understanding of their education and their curriculum that they provide to prep. There's a huge emphasis of grad at grad, the idea being truly a man for others. Intellect, competence, compassion. I really believe that every facet of our curriculum has that infused into it, and it hasn't been by accident. It's been very deliberate, and so I think they have the administration has a very, very good understanding of what our curriculum is, what our motive is, and what our intention is, and how we actually go about delivering that.
Cool. And lastly, is there any way that you would change the system, whether it be the material of the system that it teaches?
Sure. I think that when it comes to making changes, it's very easy for everybody to, however the expression goes, backseat driver, armchair quarterback, right? Because we don't have to actually deal with the consequences of those decisions. So with that being said, I think one thing about our curriculum is that it is a bit rigid. I'll speak specific to science in that we have to take the same sequence of biology, physics, chemistry, and it leaves very little room for AP studies in your senior year, and if you don't place into the top 50% for the entrance exam, then you're not afforded that opportunity your senior year. There have been schools that have systems that are a lot more fluid, where physics, rather than taking a general physics course and then an AP physics is the course that you take and nothing else. I think we can benefit our students a lot by that, by changing sort of that rigid system. Again, there are benefits to it, but I think their positives would far outweigh the current benefits we have from this system. Again, I bookend that by saying I don't have to live with the consequences of those decisions, so it's easy for me to say that.
All right, thank you so much.
Sure.
Hello. Can you tell us your name and what subject you teach?
I'm Elaine Clark, teach English.
So, first off, in your opinion, what courses of studies and activities should be present in the education system today?
I would probably keep it pretty much the way it is. I may put more emphasis on computer sciences, computer programming, that kind of technology in terms of a course of study, because I think that is so much the way the world is going. With that said, I would stick with a real liberal arts kind of education, which is a little bit of math, a little bit of science, a little bit of English, a little bit of foreign language, because you can't possibly know what you want to do unless you have a variety of things taught to you. But I would add in more computer science.
And next off, do you believe that prep restricts the students in any way? If you want, you can expand that to other high schools.
My initial answer would be no, because prep responds to what the university and college requirements are. So, if university and college says you need 4 years of foreign language, then we're going to say you need 4 years of foreign language or math or English. So, until universities and colleges change what they're looking for, we're going to be offering what we're offering. I would like to see more arts, more science electives, and again, more technology electives.
And then finally, is there any way that you would change the system, whether it be the material or system of teaching?
Material or system of teaching? Across the board, not just at Fairfield Prep, I think smaller class sizes are better. I think whenever possible, more hands-on is good. But I'm not always a fan of group work, because I think that group work makes 2 or 3 kids do all the work. So I think something where kids are inquiring more into the subject, thinking more on their own, is good and should be kind of wrapped into that. How to do that, I don't know. It's not as easy as it sounds.
All right, that would be all.
When a survey about the education system was taken by college professors, 67% felt that what is taught in high school does not prepare students for college as well as a successful career. They think that not enough students reach college, and those who do feel that they are not prepared. 46% of American students finish college. This ranks last among 18 countries measured on this indicator. Only 1 in 4 high school students graduate ready for college in all 4 core subjects: English, reading, math, and science. Ultimately making a third of students entering college have to take remedial courses once more. Also, only 4% of African American students and 11% of Hispanic students finish high school ready for college in their core subjects. By the knowledge of professors and the statistics measured throughout each year, we can infer that American students are not learning the skills and knowledge that they need to succeed in today's world.
To conclude, it is apparent that there are innate problems within the education system that must be reformed. Some people believe readmissions need to be made, while others believe omissions need to be made. Also, the data that we collected matches the interviews that we made. So if we know we need to make a change and we want to make a change, what is stopping us?